Hi, this is Ben Gaines with Adobe Analytics Product Management. This video is primarily for new customers of Adobe Analytics, and in this video I want to show you how you can be ready to implement Adobe Analytics in a matter of minutes. So when you go to log into Adobe Analytics after you receive an email from Adobe letting you know that an account has been created for you, you can come to marketing.adobe.com or click in the email that you receive and arrive here and sign in with your Adobe ID. And when you sign into the Marketing Cloud, you will be taken to the feed area where if you were an existing Adobe Marketing Cloud customer, you might have some information here, but in this case I don't. And I can come up here and click on the product switcher and go over to Analytics. And when I do that, I will get dropped into Adobe Analytics. And again, this is something that you'll see when you're a new customer. Existing customers of Adobe Analytics won't see this necessarily, although you can get to it, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on. So we've created a welcoming experience for you. You can see that there are a few areas where you can jump off if you want to go participate in our community or start learning about Adobe Analytics. You can go do that there. But if you want to get up and running and you want to start collecting that valuable data from your website or your app, you can do that very easily in a process that we've designed by clicking the Start Setup button. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to make me log in again. Okay, so we've created this process for you to get up and running very, very quickly. The first thing that you're going to need to do is create a report suite. A report suite, if you haven't used Adobe Analytics before, is like a property or an account. It's a data repository where all of the data from your site or your app, or both, depending on how you want to structure it, can reside. And you can run reports and build projects and do your analysis against any of these report suites. You can have as many report suites as you want. There's no cost to set up additional report suites. And in fact, if you aren't sure what you want to call your report suite, or how exactly you want to, what settings you want to enable, that's fine. You can always create a new one later. So let's get started. We'll talk more about report suites in just a bit. So the first thing that you'll need to do is tell the system whether you're implementing on a website, a mobile app, or both. In this case, I'm just going to stick with website, but you can. The process is basically the same regardless of which of these you choose. The only difference when you choose native app or both is that you'll get a copy of our SDK to implement in your iOS and Android applications. So I'm going to hit Next. Next, we want to know how your website or your app makes money. What's your primary business model? And this will, in the future, determine some of the setup for the report suite and some of the code that we give you at the end, and some of the rules that we set up for you in DTM, which is our tag management solution. I'm going to stick with products. You can hit Next there. Next, you've got a question about data layers. Does your website use a data layer to pass on tracked information? A data layer, in case you aren't aware, is essentially an object that sits on the pages of your site or in your app that kind of standardizes the data that's available to your analytics solution. I'm going to choose that I have no idea. That's fine. Now comes the part where I name my report suite, and this is how it's going to show up for me in Adobe Analytics. So I'm going to go ahead and call it bengaines.com. Let's do that. And that's just a friendly name, and I could do whatever I wanted. I could call it production, or I could call it dev. Maybe I'll add that dev piece on there. Why don't I actually just do this? Okay. And again, this is how it's going to show up for me and my users. I can edit this later, so it's okay if I get it wrong, and of course I can always create a new report suite later as well. We're going to detect the time zone, and they did get it correct. I'm in U.S. Mountain Time. Next, we want to know how much traffic this report suite is going to receive per day. So I'm going to say that this is a pretty big site, between 100,000 and 10 million page views per day. And we've got these nice little animals here to guide you in your decision making. The whale is anything above 10 million page views a day. So I'm going to hit next. And then the last question here has to do with currency. In particular, since I'm selling products, this matters to me quite a bit. We'll say that my business operates in US dollars. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't collect data in other currencies. You absolutely can. They'll just be converted to US dollars as kind of the currency of record for your data. And I hit next. And now I have an opportunity to review all of my choices, and I think that those are correct. So I hit next. Next, the system is going to spend probably about a minute creating the report suite and getting you all set up with a data repository that you can use to collect data. Now, I've already mentioned that you can create as many of these as you want. Many of you come from complex businesses that have many brands and many business units. We're not going to have time to cover a complete sort of report suite strategy in this video, but just know that it's pretty common to have one report suite per property, per website, or per app. You might also have a report suite per brand. So, if I had 3 different brands, I might have 3 different report suites, one for each brand. That's something that you'll want to work with your Adobe consultant or whoever is helping you kind of take the next step with your implementation. You'll want to talk to them about how to build that out. But just note that you can create as many of them as you want, and they can also be removed later if you don't want to see them anymore. So don't worry about creating them incorrectly for now. So the report suite's been created. This screenshot just shows where in Adobe Analytics I can find the report suite selector, because I am going to want to switch between report suites at various times. I'm going to hit next. And now I'm ready to go. And I have 2 options here. One, I can click to deploy Adobe Analytics in DTM. DTM, as I mentioned, is our tag management solution. It's great, very easy to get up and running with DTM. All you'll need to do, and I will click this button in just a minute, all you'll need to do, though, to do that is get the DTM tags on your page. And you don't need to do any other customization on the page or anything like that. You can handle it all through DTM, but you do have to get those tags on the page. And once you do that, you'll be ready to, you'll start collecting data. You can be collecting data, 5 minutes from now if you can do a push to your development site that quickly. The other option, if I'm not using DTM for any reason, I can download the code for web or mobile. In this case, I've only done web. So if I hit download, I will get and I will do that. I get you can't see it in the recording window, but I've got a zip archive which I can view that will actually contain the code itself, the JavaScript code, and a link to some documentation so that I can give that to my developers to implement on my site or in some other tag management system or whatever it is. But we strongly recommend DTM. It's the easiest way to get up and running, and everyone has access to it. All Adobe Analytics customers have access to it, so you don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to hit deploy, and when I do that, I get taken to DTM. I'm not going to go through a whole implementation here, but what's important to note is that there are, because I'm a new user of DTM, I've got a series of videos that I can watch. Sort of in the scenario, I'm a new user of DTM. I'm not actually a new user of DTM, but I can watch these videos, adding Adobe Analytics via DTM. I could watch the videos here, the Jumpstart video series, or I could click on this documentation, and that will pop open a new tab that will show me exactly how I can deploy Adobe Analytics using DTM with a video right there recorded by my colleague Corey Spencer. So with that, you are ready to go. And you can watch those videos if you want to take this idea a step further, but I want to welcome you to the exciting world of Adobe Analytics. And hopefully you'll find that this is very easy to get up and running with and start collecting some basic data. The last thing I'll say is that you do want to continue to work with your Adobe consultant or whoever is helping you get up and running with Adobe Analytics. This is not a replacement for those efforts in the sense that you're going to get really just a very basic implementation here, but you'll start collecting valuable data from day one. The Adobe Analytics collection code by default gets you a tremendous amount of valuable data that you can start to begin working with and exploring as you build out your implementation with whoever that resource is.